The Wasteland. Planting seeds in the soil, one day they will grow up strong. Along the wayside they paint pictures of a world gone wrong, to teach the youth about the journey, how to travel down the route, the habits they'll acquire, and what it's like to figure out how to be a human. Kill off every parasite, never get infected with the sickness that they shared in life. They want you to be better, but they don't know where to start, cause we all grew up in the wasteland where they refused to share their hearts. We learned it from day one, when we were thrown into the web of lies. The first time we loved and the first time we said goodbye. Learning about the world, hands-on training how to seethe. How can we proceed in a land where power feasts on the weak like we're the prey? Shifts us into predators, hunting for the catalyst that turns spectators to competitors. Entertainment is violence, silent crowds watch the feeding frenzy. Living in a world where people care about what's trending, completely empty inside by the time they learn the meaning. Crawling through the dirt like soldiers on the front lines, we're depleting. No need to learn the words, they abbreviate with slang. Taking the easy way out as if knowledge is just a game, only can do so much. That's what they taught. Stick to what you're good at and don't stray from normal thoughts. But what is normal? What is fiction? What is death? What is living? What is forgetting? What's forgiving? We'll never make it. Who are we kidding? I guess only ourselves on the shelves next to the photo books, collecting dust and cobwebs. It's been years since we took a good look in the mirror. We see the enemy, we've been villains to our health. They distribute medication to destroy the commonwealth. They delete the common, the only factor is wealth. Step back and stare at the grand scheme of things. You're only fooling yourself with all the empty promises. The conscious non-existent, you can't exist within it without the constant mission to be your own person. Build a place to hide, but they hand out reputations without even knowing what's inside. Childhood passed by, youth committed suicide until they realized it was natural. Our generation died inside. By the time they realized it, it would be too late to fix the damage. So now it's permanent, they have the advantage. Turned me savage, made me understand things I never knew. Pan out and see the grand scheme of things coming full circle for you. Mitch began walking the slums where the fog was so thick you could cut it like your wrists on an Oregon street, sharing the same exact feeling as a kid who just learned that reproduction exists. He walked and stared at the world like something new, a birthday gift or your very first kiss on the lips. But Mitch didn't care about the kids or starting a family with some mistress he'd never really get to know. He figured life was too short to go and root another one, so he kept to himself and lived under a bridge. That bridge was occupied by the same types of people, with the same exact thoughts, so he felt he was equal. He saw everything so clearly until the diabetic coma, sleepless nights without the somas, because no doctor dared to give those to a homeless man who lived under a bridge with no insurance. Mitch wondered what it was like to see clearly every day of his life. Moved into a trailer park that the state decided to pay for somewhere in Illinois. Oregon seemed like a distant place, about 1,964 miles away, where he left his shopping carts, browsing for a purpose, but the shelves seemed as empty as his link card. They put a nail in his foot and a stick in his eye, lost half of his leg and half of his sight as he walked through the world, hoping to see the beauty in something during the span of his life. And eventually, the other half of that leg went missing in some hospital. His vision went away, so he drew up beautiful scenarios. The stereo still blasting in that Ford pickup truck, like powder through a straw when you fell down on your luck. Cherished every sight he saw before the lights went out, like children in bed at night. Refused to say his prayers because he couldn't see the sky, only what he remembered in a past life. He remembered thick black smoke Coming from the muffler, he remembered Christmas trees at the bar where he used to buy his dope. He remembered women who he loved, but never loved him back. But God in the sky, he never identified with that. He only closed his eyes and hoped. Couldn't see the weeds grow like children plastered to a door frame. Couldn't see the dingy haze in his house when you entered. All Mitch saw was a summer night in Oregon while he sat in a trailer having visions in December. He explained in great detail what it was like. The mustache on his face like the handlebars on a bike. That was the very first connection that we had. Blamed it all on the hospital for spreading the pigment in his eyes. I could tell he over-exaggerated it like CNN when the stocks drop. I came to realize on Halloween 6 years ago, he was that dude with the mop top who said he liked my costume. He actually saw me. That was the second connection, like Wi-Fi wires plugged into modems, or a flash drive being used as a memory bank. All Mitch had was the fragments of moonlight and pieces of the sun, taped together with scotch tape like an old-fashioned recorder that could barely turn on. He taught me history lessons. Living room doubled as a classroom, because Mitch wondered what it was like to see clearly every day of his life. Soon enough, I found out the real story on Mitch. How he was an ornery little kid who never shot his insulin. The older that he got, the less and less attached he was, like a little kid's tooth hanging by a strand of their gum. Only this disconnect was not like when the internet goes down and you pick up the phone and dial 1-800-RIP-OFF to get nothing. For Mitch, this disconnect was real. Real like the sounds he heard from a blank screen, like the silence that spread out over the room like a sheet. Didn't want me to leave, he told me stories in depth about his personal problems, beaming across the room at the sink. He beat on the sink like a drum and sang old Ted Nugent lyrics and gazed at the light. He had life in a stranglehold, baby. All I know for sure is the grip was too tight. Talked about dreaming and seeing himself in better health. Never mentioned wealth one time, just his health. Because Mitch wondered what it was like to see clearly every year of his life. After all of this experience, for me it was more than just another reference on a resume. It was a way to save someone's world from emptiness and decay. That blind man sitting in an old trailer like a dungeon saw more than most people ever will. Honestly, you don't even need eyes to see what Mitch saw. You just need a shopping cart, a voice, and a sink to bring visions to life with the words that you sing. I still wonder where Mitch went when they packed him up tight in the back of an ambulance at the end of his life. He still lives and breathes, but he can't sing any longer. It's sad for me to say this, but good old Mitch is a goner. He finally accepted what was clear in his sights, but Mitch taught me how to see clearly every day of my life. Bereft of consciousness, stripped of self-awareness, zombies walk down cold streets searching for the fix. Got bitten by the bug, infected with the sickness. We all turn into monsters when the substance hits our lips. Whether it flows throughout the bloodstream, leaks into the mind, or it leaves our shells along the road where mortals go to die. And we've all got blood on our hands. I've seen it, you know better than I am. One day, you'll be just like me. There is no Solomon Grundy, not written by Romero. Reality floods the streets and the zombies lead the way. We've all become so lifeless, humanity grows narrow. It overtakes the innocent and feasts on those they've led astray. Nestled safely in the confines of addiction, share the likeness, cause we share the common bond of being lifeless. We've all got blood on our hands. I've seen it, you know better than I am, because now, you're just like me. They ate the flesh right off your bone, feasted on your brain, took away your sanity when they released it in your veins. Finally coming back to life, the vital signs return. Revamp the pulse, recast the soul, and strip the title that you've earned. I was like you, an undead creature lurking freely, but I came back to life to finally understand the meaning that we've all got blood on our hands. I've seen it, you know better than I am, cause you've committed the exact same sins as me. Impostors. A creature of habit. The papers stacked in the same order they have been for ages. It's not a disorder, it's just a way to remember. Leave a mark in the book to go back through the pages. One man's junk is another man's treasure. That's what he used to think until he figured out he was abnormal. A creature lurking the earth with the zombies. An old soul, knew too much for his own good, but I killed Bobby. Left his body on the street corner where he lived his life in sin. Traded in that little kid for another vice again. This is just reality. You see, Bobby was not like the rest of you. He was different. You told him that from the beginning. I looked over his last days like a fly on the wall. He tried to be like you, but failed miserably. He watched imposters steal from people too many times before. Started turning into a monster when they deleted his core, defeated his character, so he had nowhere else to hide except for his mind. He lived there the last 2 years of his life, confined like a lab rat. Only experiment was himself, the specimen in a cage. Knows what he could have been. He was the only imposter. Everybody else knew exactly what they wanted to be. Honestly, he just wanted to fit into the image. See what you saw. Smile like you smiled. Can't stay a child forever. Shit, he wasn't even one for a while. Here's a mild sedative, it will keep you on a cloud. Bobby wasn't meant to live in a world of imposters. Was the only genuine one around. That ground beneath his feet is more than just concrete. It's the foundation for the escape route. The pavement cracked years ago like eggs against a bowl. Only these cracks won't ever be filled, and they won't fill gaps. Like a hungry stomach, vacant as the childhood home. So he speeds faster and faster, like the no-dose just dissolved in his stomach. As he sees the world flashing, each scene shot from his perspective. Nobody can tell him otherwise. There is no set destination, no plan mapped out or punched into a GPS. It's all for one reason: escape. To escape the empty promises, hollow like seashells, hearing the waves rushing like these motor vehicles. Never saw the point in getting from A to B. Would rather see everything in between in purity for free, with stops along the way, not just rushing through the scenes like fast forwarding the tape to only see the nudity. Everybody knows one word beginning with an F, while the only word he knows beginning with that is faster. The faster he moves, the faster he sheds the failures and mistakes like the weight. The hockey skates knock on the pavement like doors he never answered, cause it seemed like every time he did it was some relative from out of town asking him if they can come in, while they've been out of the picture since he developed it. He wonders how much longer it will take to get out of town, how long it will take to pull the knife out of the ribs like they did at that Chili's restaurant. High school graduation, the last time he was alive. A fish in the tank with plenty of space, but suddenly the baking soda started dripping down like oil spills with no way to escape and nowhere to escape to. He knew that this would kill him. Well, not him, the fish. He goes faster, as fast as he can possibly go without skidding out and becoming that horrible wreck on the side of the road he saw when he was 4 years old. That's why to him, vehicles are just unnecessary death sentences that don't apply to him. Finally got to where he was going and saw everything was better. He'd finally escaped pressure. No longer feels like a lighter over a flame about to pop and explode on the next person who uses modern slang. But finally he escaped. On hockey skates. There's a dismal fog overtaking the scenery. Torn down buildings congest every city. Struggle to find an affordable home, and the cold souls draw the blueprints for your demise, determining the fate while they're conjuring the plot. A nightmare unfolds before your eyes, and the devil sets demons free. Threw away your shot to be a normal, successful human being. Seeing with the third eye is obsolete as the fumes cloud judgment. Shrapnel in your legs, thorns create the scars. Compassion departed long ago, all that's left is the ligature marks from the rope they tied around your neck. The one that choked out the final breath of fresh air. There's a dead heart sitting in your chest. They call this place the Wasteland, pseudonym for youth. They abuse you, confuse you with themselves, and they don't know the truth. The truth is, you've forever been the outcast, frozen in the classroom, and they wonder why you failed math. You'll forever be known as the piece of face that never stood his ground, until you learn how to fight and shake the demons that surround. Act out in front of the crowd, now the whole world knows you exist. They blame your past as they fade alas, and bash their skulls against the glass. You weren't the villain, you just defended yourself for once crushed. The wasteland is all that's left in us, we can't adjust. We'll never get any further than we are. We rust like steel in piles of junk. When we were kids, there was this tree in the backyard, sorta like a penciled-in sketch etched in the background of a portrait. It was 4 feet at best. Every once in a while we would climb on it, hang there for a second like clouds stuck in the sky on a summer day, and you wonder why they haven't moved in a long time, or why we haven't become pals quite yet. We're like that little brat in the class who you were best friends with until you beat him in tag, then 10 minutes later he wants to make up like a couple who has the guts to give it one more chance. I remember learning about sex before cassettes were condemned, climbing on the tree like all the thoughts in my head of finally seeing something other than cartoons on the bed. If you would have removed my head like the top of a pumpkin and stuck your hand in the gut, you would discover there's nothing other than Showtime Network. 11 p.m., don't be late. Somebody walked by, so I had to mute the TV before they discovered my shame. But you can't blame me for that. See, but I learned quickly. I'm talking quicker than taking a picture off of one of those cameras with the glued on stickers. I learned there were choices to make, points to make, even statements. You had to do something to replace all the fakeness. Faker than a show on MTV. I don't mean fake as in scripted, I mean fake like the people they've turned out to be. The content is fake, not what you actually see. That's all I wanted to avoid, and I thank whoever helped me to be free like a bird on a wire with no electrical current. An ego for the day like a merchant who got a hot purchase. Still, I think back to the climbing tree, and for all those years, how we didn't realize how tiny it was. Almost as tiny as we were. The tree eventually got chopped down like an old weed that only infested the rest of the yard. But that wasn't the case. It's what helped us grow like that piece of tape on the wall. We were determined to get bigger every year, and eventually it stopped. So we found the climbing tree and went back up to the top to hide away from the fact that we were just grown. I feel like a stand-up comedian who doesn't get laughs except for that one guy in the back who we grew up with that doesn't even get the punchline at all, but he tries so hard so you don't feel so bad. Well, I do feel bad. I have no business climbing on that tree anymore. I'd probably snap the branch in half like a pretzel stick in my lunch bag. And still I think back to the climbing tree, and for all those years, how we didn't realize how tiny it was, almost as tiny as we were. From hither, where I would stand, aloft in withering heights, amongst the sullen violet clouds, visions of earthbound angels drift in my mind and look upon a twisted road where as a mortal man I would ask no quarter. At passion's end, would I give quarter? I see the days drift as the sun sadly closes its eyes. The moons bathe us in blue rays of magic pulled from the bag of a wizard, dusted from that of diamonds like the stars in heaven. As I gaze into this, the season of wither, would I cast my eyes to the depths of heaven and prevail upon the compassionate north wind to carry me free upon sightless wings? Why, to stand in your dreams, in the majestic beauty of livid pools of blue that would be a scarlet, yeah. Then I could kneel before you and humble myself as a man, and give you my heart without thought. Then days would pass. Tonight I can say gladly, in all pride and honor, truly, I have walked with an angel. It all seems like some distant place now that never really existed. Cryptic symbols etched into the rocks, the fall was rough and vivid. Perfect streams are all I wish for in the hopes of being popular. Infamous legitimacy went out the window before I locked the door, so these days could never escape. Like pieces we move on a board, I turned into a character and I don't like the mood anymore. We all share one common desire, it's to love and be loved the same. Yet seasons are wither, take us away and change who we are in the early days. In a haze out at the corner, waiting for some useless fix. Believed it's all I had to live for, bought into evil, stupid tricks. Thinking back to autumn days where everything was simple. All we had to fear was the forming of a pimple or a ripple in the water when the tides just turned a little bit. A simple shift affected us, but we could walk away with our innocence, till we lost that in the mix like movie tickets and pay stubs. The change that became us and the stereotypes being played up. I try to avoid eye contact because I can't accept perspective. The objective was a failure, so I take my place respectively. Another lost soul who lost control of his woe and withered like the seasons. I still dream for no other reason than to hold on to a meaning. Seasons of wither, autumn is gone. Spread the ashes on the lake and move on. In the seasons of wither, the autumn is gone. Just spread the ashes on the lake and move on. Seasons of wither, autumn is gone. Spread the ashes on the lake and move on. In the seasons of wither, where the autumn is gone, spread the ashes on the lake and move on. To sum it up, the experiment failed. It was all just letters on a glass vial, and once the ink bled, it showed the real child. It was all artificial, only smiled because they said cheese. That's normality for you. And we all grow up in the wasteland, some overcome, some just drift off into their own daydreams. Life as specks. We're smaller than most things in this world. Little ink blotches scattered throughout the bigger picture like grass seed. Yes, grass seed grows quickly and in great quantity, but at the same time it gets stepped on and mowed down. We have flourished, yet we lost all social skills because of social media. It kinda defeats the purpose. There are 12-year-olds with guns killing education in cold blood, filling every test they take, including that of time. They have an expiration date like the food in a refrigerator that nobody ate. It sits for a while, gets moldy, and eventually gets disposed of as if it was never even there. That's today's youth in a nutshell. But I cracked a long time ago and realized the truth. I don't want to live in this small, confined space anymore, trying to stretch out like lying on a French couch. I want to grow. I want to expand. I want to be smarter than I have been. I want to be better. Hell, I just want to be sane again. Shed the paint off like my snakeskin face that eventually turns into dust on a shelf like it never even existed. I want to be consistent like Dylan in the 60s. I want to be a thin man and write ballads about human connection. There's no such word as perfection. If you decide to become a master, you'll probably never achieve it. Just follow the path. I too was a nomad with nowhere to go except down. But now when I get high, I don't fly, I stay on the ground and complete the tasks at hand. I wanna cut the real me out of this fake persona like a C-section, baby, because I've got scars on my stomach from eating garbage. The raindrops still remind me of clicking on the roof like water drops in a tin can that used to help me sleep. But now when I wake up, I can't hear anything, and I feel like I haven't slept in weeks. When I was a kid, there were so many people I wanted to be, until one day I realized I should just focus on building a better me. Now you're getting what you get, and if you don't want to be a part of the assembly, then don't build walls around me. They were right, I did make a better door than a window, because a window can be seen through, while a door can be locked up tight. They failed to see the bigger picture, never witnessed the truth behind the colors they painted across the scene. While you hang there as a minuscule bird in the sky, so was I. Then I revived my pulse, pieced together my backbone until it was stronger than ever. If you hold ice on your cheek, that's me. Numb. I learned about death as a kid, I've been teaching the content ever since. Nobody dies if they left a positive impact on you. I'm still trying to be like all my idols up above me. They look down at this stage I stand on, and they know I'm finally being real, the true me. I've seen the grand scheme of things pass before my eyes. I've climbed trees, been an imposter, walked lifeless. I've gotten through the seasons of weather. I met Mitch, I wasted away, I escaped. Now you see the bigger picture and how it turned me into this person, the stronger version. I grew up in the Wasteland, I'm the last of a dying breed. I should still be that insignificant ink blotch, but fortunately I stood back and I looked at the bigger picture. Small sprouts coming from the ground are all that's left. They've grown up and moved on to cover larger ground and spread. The spores they left behind create another species dominant. The planets once collided, and that's when all the problems hit. It was a train wreck before our eyes and set us all off track. Another death in the family, and when it's done we can all go back to our normal lives. In spite of all that's happened, existing only in the memories of a monster that I'm trapped in. When it all came full circle, I was a boy with a dream, trapped behind a screen, trying to figure out what it all means. There were people different colors, and now it didn't matter. A whole world in front of me laid out like a platter. The ladder to success had a couple rungs missing, but still I climbed up to see the clouds above drifting, moving past the wasteland, pseudonym for youth. They've used and abused, now you used abuse too. Capture all the feelings in your heart in a single vial. Glad to view the world without knowing you're a child. Smile once in a while, there isn't a thing you can do to change the view of an entire population who knew the truth, but ignored it for ages like stages in the gameplay. It wasn't the electronics that took away the brainwaves, it was the constant lack of confidence the parents gave and insisted to persist. Every single flaw written down like a grocery list. Pick and choose identities like amenities for the household. How many times has the wife gone out and worked while the husband's out cold? Not being a man or taking a stand to change the child's youth, he'll grow up burnt out like his dear old dad and do it too. Instead, be good to women and shake your elder's hand. The chips off the block are like splinters in your hand. The world's an ugly place, I finally learned the discipline to live in it, but now it doesn't seem worth it to begin again. Sink or swim, shine or fade, decide your mind is yours to shape, or see it come full circle back to the checkpoint, that's where I escaped. Try a change, it could be for the better, or watch it come full circle, give in and surrender. On the inside, I'll see more than you'll ever see on the outside. More more than a tiny glimpse. I can see through the hollow outline. Fisheye lens that I see through. Eyeballs like peepholes view the world from a different perspective. You could see it too. The final beam of light shines on the horizon. The glow of the moon forms something majestic. I have never seen something so perfectly constructed. I have never known such thing existed. To describe it in a word, the only one acceptable would be whole. That gaping tunnel in my chest can finally fill up, sorta like a crater in the concrete, turning into a puddle as it fills up and floods. Like a gift that lasts forever, one without another box, something you can grasp onto when you're dragged into tough spots. Loneliness is like the crawl space, the one I hid within, peeking out at my father, knowing I'd forgiven him. He'll pretend to know me perfectly, act like all is well. It's faker than the emotion on his face he tried to sell. The last ray of light is nothing like that gimmick. It comes without limits and has no set image, having the type of bond that doesn't come with tension. We stripped it off the walls before they caved in every direction. The most important part is to never live in caves, engaged in senseless rage or jaded by mistakes. Things you can't take back that spewed out of your mouth look like venom dripping slowly into bloodstreams. You are bleeding out, trying to drain it quickly before it reaches the heart. You're too late to change it, you've been poisoned from the start. Passed it on to someone else and they became infused with hatred. I have seen the last ray of sunshine in front of me, illuminated. Never believed in fairy tales, I know they can't be real. But if this is the closest thing, then I feel what you feel. This equation adds up, this word problem makes sense. If I have one of you, I have it all, and that's the end. When a person becomes damaged and a beam of light translucent, you finally see through it clearly and pinpoint the illusion. It's been you all along, and it's nearly impossible to start fresh. The connection that descended into darkness, then you find a bigger mess and clean it up with no rifts. Isn't that what it's all about? This constant ache for closeness. The lack of human connection used to tear us down some. The gloomy days remind us that we barely even found sun. Telling you how I feel, I can sum it up with one line: I have become whole, standing next to the last ray of sunshine.
Thought about disappearing once before, becoming the breeze that you feel on your neck. Midsummer daydreams projected from my eyeballs. The seasons changed countless times. I tried to keep up. Ended up in a tornado of emotions. The avalanche collapsed right before my eyes. Many lives were lost in the wreckage. The demise of nature itself. The clouds evaporated. The sun burnt out like a light bulb. Society flipped the switch. When nature goes to die, in our own backyards where it once lived. When nature goes to die, in our own backyards where it once lived. Thought about disappearing once before.
Toxins in our water, the toxins in our food, being passed like hand-me-downs. The toxin sets the mood. There are toxins in our fresh air, clouds of idle gas, hung up in the sky like pictures from the past. Toxins in our morals, toxins in our souls, permanent installment, one that stunts the growth. Everything will shift, the toxin guarantees drastic changes imminent, the death of human beings. Adulthood comes rushing in like a wave in Mavericks as we try to cut loose the bad habits we've captured. Grasping onto them like straws, the claws begins to scrape. Tried to get the poison out, but the anecdote won't change the fate. The other half is sociopathic and it's gone on a killing spree. The disorder is more common than suicide in the sea of trees. We've all witnessed abuse and said we'd never walk the steps, but it's far too late to change the format once the toxin spreads. Reality blends with fantasy, sometimes sometimes the change is good, ending up like animals from the 100-acre woods. We all have disorders and get stuck on medication. Long after they're gone, we're still walking demonstrations. You can't be like them, well that's exactly who you've switched into. The toxins in our bloodstreams make it impossible to be an individual. Residual effects, the death of a generation. Toxic population, we live in a 50-50 nation. This shit isn't split like our personalities. Our parents laid the blocks. We're all grown up and twisted like the sponge that soaks in toxin.
Right and wrong as one, hungry for the focus, tearing down the walls to rebuild your proudest moments. Don't let the toxins in, replace them early on, or you'll become toxic and destroy like atom bombs. The chemicals will linger and infect the future seeds that grow out of the dirt, mutations woven in the seams. Don't let them pollute your dreams, they are far too blind to see the toxins only spread if you let them thrive inside.
Feeling, thinking, acting. Social, antisocial, disappearing act. Ordinal, interval, ratio, nominal. Acceptable, unacceptable, undefined. We all try to be somebody. We all try to hide. Try to truly be alive. We thrive. Strength, weakness, loneliness, together. Cooperation, anticipation, obligation to remember, emotion, spreads like wildfire, bombs go off like kernels popping. Emotion. There is no stopping the decline. Let it go, or make a copy. In our own backyards, where nature goes to die, we decline. In our own backyards. Nature goes to die, we decline.
We gotta get out of here.
Anything can be undead with lack of caffeine. We've seen millions of murders on color TV screens, read books about getting away with murder. We worship God or Stephen King, who are essentially the same being. Lives are directed by Hitchcock, dreams are directed by Gus. Fear is a common denominator, but none of it really adds up. Death is produced by God himself, a shot-for-shot arrangement of another life that slipped away. Now it's got 4 separate nominations, mirror and mire interpretations of the stooges in everyday life, gouging out each other's eyes and laughing at pain with lack of sight. Average Joe has a supporting role. It's the biggest act of his career. Now he plays the same character each time, year after year after year. He's basically Richard Gere. Blood and gore are perfect horror. Nothing's better than ghost stories. When people can talk to the dead, they'll pay them any amount of money with a small side helping of glory. Want to hear a scary story? There used to be no electricity. There used to be no amenities. There was a time period where it was rare to use obscenities. Don't be afraid of the darkness. Be afraid of what's done in the dark. Don't be afraid of the shadow puppets. Be afraid of the hands that control them. Don't be afraid of the big bad wolf. Be afraid of the small one who's kind. Don't be afraid of the one in tears. Be afraid of the emotionless one that consoles them. Don't be afraid of your life, and definitely not of your death. Don't be afraid of the dark. The darkness is your only friend. Anybody can be a ghost depending on how quietly they move. We've seen humans born on Channel 2 then die 30 years later on broadcast news. Some get buried by the state with nobody there to share a word. Others get buried in golden caskets seen by audiences across the world. Don't be afraid of strangers. Be afraid of the ones you know best. Don't be afraid of energy, be afraid of what happens when it ends. Don't be afraid of the gun, be afraid of the man that pulls the trigger. Don't be afraid of the taste, be afraid of what makes it taste so bitter. Don't be afraid of your life, and definitely not of your death. Don't be afraid of the dark. The darkness is your only friend. Larry was an honest man who would never tell a lie. Practically taught me all I know about building things and drawing straight lines. He flew straight, always spared his loose coins, always stood beside me during Dad's frequent mood change. Showed me the reasoning for Christmas and the work put into building frames. Until the picture changed, we swapped it out for empty canvas and white paper looking plain. The thwarting of the plan was the distorting of a man I looked up to higher than the sky and greater than the last time we saw each other. There is no endless space, yet it seems pretty close. We live 900 miles away in a land without phones. His must have broken like the bond we had. Now do we relate? They say relationships change with distance. Then why were they here in the first place? Just to be stripped away like layers of wallpaper plastered. Then I wound up in Oklahoma, a perfect example of a bastard. But I'm not who you think I am. Hell, I'm not who I thought. Not my father's son, and certainly not the act he brought. Along with time, I'm an afterthought. The laughter quits and the people drift, trailing off like thoughts when the long-awaited buzz begins. What once existed is truly dead, extinct, and buried 6 feet deep. The rest are reduced to ashes and only walk and breathe and sleep. I wake up in the morning and reflect on every candle burned at both ends. It's all a part of what I've learned. Seeking out a special partnership like the channel search on a radio. Both are old-fashioned and won't display the change or growth. Deep down you're a hopeless romantic, but the more you learn, the less you hope. Romance exists for novels, the ones that hold no truths to know. You learned about the birds and bees through stings and pecking orders. You learned about the flowers blooming through allergic reactions and disorders. The seeds they planted long ago have grown quickly into trees, with roots as thick as thieves inside their minds that try to rob their dreams. Each branch sees seasons come and go. Each leaf will witness change, showing their true colors when it finally starts to rain. Every storm causing damage on a grander scale at times, graded A through F like the better portion of their lives. Sometimes you can succeed, other times you'll fail, get thrown into the wood chipper or forever mark the trail. The scabs begin to fall off as long as they are not picked. The wounds will eventually heal unless there's more you will inflict. Either way, the scar is visible, people want to hear the reason. Well, it's a really crazy story, man, so let me begin reading. Questions float around like life rafts with nobody left to save. If you don't attempt to learn it, then how will you ever know its ways? I guess it's mine I'm stuck in, I have nothing left to hide. I try to right my wrongs and do right by them each time. Show them what's inside, but clearly they don't acknowledge it. The trend is spreading like a cancer in a world without oncologists. Knowledge lives in all of us along with natural prowess. Abilities come authentically, no need to go to college. Paper marks the skill set and it always leaves a trail. So before you make mistakes, make sure to always shred the tail. The more we lose interest, the longer it takes to build it up. Sitting alone at giant tables with a full plate and a half-empty cup, said enough to build the credit up, but how quickly they forget. You're miles from the beginning of the story, you're more than halfway in. So next time I hold my breath and make a wish across a bridge I've burned, I'll think about the circle that shaped me and made me whole and show you what I've learned. See the final resting place getting closer than return to what they referred to as vintage form. It was always blue and burned. Churned a couple albums out to spread my thoughts like butter. I leave behind these crumbs so you could place them in the cupboard, along with one more picture and a book of poems I've written, typed up perfectly for you when you get down and need a lifting. Next to everybody else whose soul is standing firm, the lesson became clear, and this is what I've learned.
Heads up, pencils down, the test is through. Go back to the drawing board, these patterns we construe. How was I ever supposed to be me in this place? I had a 5-foot body and a 40-inch waist. When this whole thing started, I was a boy with a dream, trapped in a screen, living out every scene, being seen by the world for a character actor. A character after they distorted my cheeks like a ball of clay. I was captured, stuck in the peaks and valleys. Only the bleak can carry torches of fire, set to the theme of glaring off into space. It all went to waste. How was I ever supposed to survive in this place? Rushing and fussing for something, but nothing was coming. I kept running into the fire, into the flame, into the world of pity and shame. Please refrain from breezing through pain. Endure it a while, you're on a runaway train, on a path nowhere. At last, nothing found, nobody seeking something, anything. Not for the numb, not for the rush of blood, not even for redemption. It's coming, it's gone, it's done. Step back and stare at the grand scheme of things. You're only fooling yourself. If we're pushed naturally, we choose to rebel. All the empty promises, your conscience non-existent. We all exist within it with one constant mission. I am my own person, I have been defined. right. I drew the picture, it just got distorted over time. So this here is my opus to all the hopeless, emotionless ghosts live alone drift. Sift through the sky like clouds in the summer. With a poof of smoke we say goodbye to another. My brother hovers above me speaking words, the potion. Now I write spoken words that evoke emotion. What do you know? One of us continues on and the other had to go. I know you're on to better things, bigger dreams, bigger scenes to direct, bigger ideas to bring. This world is wasted, our youth, the wasteland, learning the truth, declining. All that's left for the time being is to decay. So far away, I'm in a world apart where I'll probably stay. I grow each day like a seed in the dirt. Make a mistake once and learn from my work. I showed it to you, hoping you'd believe the pace. Going back to the drawing board, trying to relive each day. If this is goodbye, and I have to let you all die, I appreciate the hope that you gave me. I tried, go back to the drawing board, draw full circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now that I found my niche, I itch for the chance of success in this place. There are no glitches to block my head, just the one thing I have legitimate worth with. The wordsmith who crafts shapes out of stanzas and shows you his purpose. From the surface of an odd place with God's face stitched. I'm a little kid with a dream, unable to block the pain in it, so he clinched. Inched my way over to the gift I was given. Half-assed the project until my face was bluer than blood in the veins, or liquid with food coloring dripped into it. The continuous flow of ideas, the constant flow of harshness, mixed darkness with my ideas, got the true results of hardship. Hit the target, the dart stuck out of the bullseye. Wait, it was there this whole time? I must have been out of my element. Some people don't have anything going for them. Some people have it all but don't utilize it. Me, I'm somewhere in the middle. I've done rap, rock, pop, metal. I feel the most of my element here on this cloud where I can metal and settle down in the metal. Thoughts make me look like I'm Wetzel, a twisted pretzel on instrumentals. In my element, all else is irrelevant. If you're okay to talk to, tell your story and sell it. In my element, I'm the only one who dwells on things like this. Self-important, self-imposed, self-induced, self-despair. Some may say I'm selfish, I just think I'm self-aware. Why be who I'm not? Why act out in class as a clown when I'm more profound than that? I grew up quickly from the ground, shot up, got up and said, hey, this place isn't bad. I can hone my craft here, be top-tier talent in the upper class. My mother's attitude is perfectly flowing through me. Utilize it last. How fast can you spit words out? How quick can you spill phonics like a half-empty glass and do exactly that? Spill your guts, kill your rut, get up, act out not as the clown but as the owner of your gift, you nut. I feel like I go crazy every day and get sane when the sun drops. Walk 8 miles in the snow saying every time I know you only get one shot, one opportunity. Hold it, no, I mean hold it. I'm trying to cross the road. Stick to the plan, man. You'll get to the gas station and grab a sugar-filled caffeine candy. Get rid of your headache, your dead weight covered in salt from head to toe. Doesn't matter when you now got a fresh face for the day. Hey, in my element, I'm irrelevant. I just hang out every day waiting for the snow to melt so I can own the warmth again, know myself. We've never met before, but I feel like I've been waiting. We've never spoken a word, but I feel as though I need to. Her voice, church bells, Sunday morning with a beautiful beam of sunlight. Give me one chance to show you I am not see-through. The girl behind the counter dances in my head. She whispers in my ear, she makes me feel alive. The girl behind the counter, a perfect stranger standing there, floods my head. It's been raining for days. She never leaves my mind. The girl behind the counter dances in my mind. She whispers in my ear, she'll never be left behind. Her voice, church bells, Sunday morning, with morning doves singing in unison. Her eyes, drawn on her face like a perfect doll. She is a portrait drawn on the wall, a beautiful mural. Is she drawn next to me, or is she somebody else's entirely? The girl behind the counter dances in my head. One day she will know my name. Reveals that even though we are strangers, we are still the perfect match, being struck to ignite the flame. The girl behind the counter, one day she will know my name. The girl behind the counter dances in my head. She whispers in my ear, she makes me feel alive. The girl behind the counter dances just for me. There she goes, da-dee-da-lee-da-lee. Floods my head, it's been raining for days. She never leaves my mind. The girl behind the counter dances in my head. She whispers in my ear, she makes me feel alive. The girl behind the counter dances in my head. One day she will know my name.
Sisters have a couple of kids, the next chapter. Handed them a frown to put on when they lack laughter. Told them to enjoy life, make money. Business is the world to live in, it takes dummies. They got books on tape to channel rage and pain. They got fame and fortune just to trade away. Give them your soul, they'll give you a life in full. The best part is when the center of attention gets cold. Now you're not whole, you'll probably never be there. Subtract one heartbreak and add it up, don't be square. Find the missing value, it's hidden deep in the pits. Forget what they say on TV, I hope you're listening, kids. Today's product is to lack confidence. The center of attention then grows hollow and swallows it. Hollow tips, shallow cesspools, unclean house, unfit mothers, the mess rules. The home is lonely, broken and torn down. By age 12 you'll be so sick of the timeouts, the hiding out in the dark, afraid of an ass kicking. Unknown faces in the doorway, being told it's safe to sit with them. They won't forget them. This will be normal for all until the coming of age is having conversations with walls. The kids take the fall, you take the rap. Once you're expunged to the charges, you're right back to it. Matter of fact, this is the rest of their lives in a flash. You'll get back to your act, let them get back to theirs. The happily ever after lives on a screen they stare. Imagine a place to live with no pressure or constant tension. The deciding factor is what route they take and in what direction. Did I mention I love you guys to death? I truly hope your little minds don't get sucked up like the rest. had dreams of being bigger than the sun in the sky. A bird's eye view of the world where I'll map out the demise if I rise to the occasion. If I'm the best in this equation, they'd subtract me in a second when somebody else came out of the pages. I'm an oddity. The guy you knew looks down on me, thinks I'm a walking mess, a talking head, psycho killer. Run away before I change for good. I walk with the dead, I swim with the sharks. I talk from experience, I get lost in their hearts. Every day I wake up and feel the same way, do the same thing, but am I the same guy? I should have stayed blind to the facts instead of making the drama mine. I'm undefined, unattainable, unstable, unable to shake the cobwebs and get detached from the dark fables. The tables turn like the big wheel. If I land at $1 and yammer, I win $1,000 and get to smile for the camera. But the camera hides behind the mirror, filming the metamorphosis. Every day growing more emotionless. Here's a toast to the ghost who hosts this shit. No longer a kid, tell my old man I'm all grown. Show him what he did is the result of 18 years of being alone on my own peninsula, until I was no longer attached to the mainland. Am I neurotic? Am I psychotic? Or am I just another product of the culture when it vomits, pukes blood into a leather glove and strikes if the price isn't right? The crisis of life is getting harder to bear, that's why I like to write.
Obsolete.
And I'm alone. I deserve to be all alone.
My kind is obsolete. I'm cassette tapes, I'm VHS tapes, playing through rabbit ear TVs in the farmhouse. Beginning of the end days, the trend plays out, then another decade begins for us. Now we got kids wearing uniforms without being reformed, looking for them when the cred wears out. Well, I'm here to reroute, sprout more words from my mouth than a water wiggle. Jiggle the plug until the lights go out. You got an idea, now you got a fear. Speaking of rabbit ears, magic doesn't exist unless you make something reappear.
I deserve to be all alone.
You're away from the wall before you crash and burn. I wrote things that played out like the fashions learned. That to be unique is a long hard road down a one-way street. Be yourself or get stuck in a lane trying to nudge your way through the line while keeping the beat. Everything seems to repeat, we go in a circle. Today's Sheldon is yesterday's Urkel. We all jump hurdles, some clear the pole, some lose their souls. We're like race car drivers, but there's no pit stops anymore. We've lost control. Maybe that's why so many teenagers OD, because their parents didn't know shit about them. Nobody ever bothered to know me. I wanted to know them to discuss what they felt. I'm obsolete in this world, there's no saving myself from getting pulled from the shelf. You ever hear things in the dark by yourself? That's the past going in circles. I'm obsolete in this world, there's no saving myself from getting pulled from the shelf. You ever hear things in the dark by yourself? That's the past going in circles. I'm obsolete in this world, there's no saving myself from getting pulled from the shelf.
I deserve to be all alone.
Obsolete.
Some days are a lesson learned, others aren't quite right. Feeling down in the dumps a bed, covered up in the light. But the light is gone out, so I'm covered in nothing. Something is bound to change. Feeling stuck with myself and my luck has run out. Nothing around me stays. People gather at tables, sharing a meal. 3 times a year we live life so surreal. But 24 hours later I'm back. Reality fades and right on time is planned.
I've spent so many nights thumbing through my thoughts, thinking about how I got this way. Today I'm alone and tomorrow I'll still be. Nobody understands the foundation of the building, they just watch it fall down. I know in the morning I have to look at myself in the mirror, then at night, go to sleep with that person. Here's my offering to you.
Every day is a lesson learned. Why did I even try? You'll never know me, I'll never know me, but I seem like a real nice guy. Systems are crumbling, body is numbing, but still feel so out of place. Used to be able to escape for a while, but I'm stuck with myself and I won't go away. Won't go away, and I'm holding us back. Break free from the chains, be your man. There's nothing to hide from, something is bound to change. But luck ran out when I opened my eyes and saw that nothing around me stays. Today is happy, I woke up happy. The birds are singing, the caffeine's flowing, flowers growing. Today is happy, enjoy it while it lasts. Today you grow. Today is brighter, it's bigger, better. It's something grown, it won't surrender. The birds are dancing, in bird bath splashing. It sure seems dashing to see the light. It's a happy day, go ahead and enjoy it. All of a sudden a beam of light comes down from the sky. Hop on, enjoy. Because at the end of the trip, it may seem different. Now you're on a cloud, staring down at the world. Wow, is that really me down there? I look different. The people ponder at their creation, an equal nation, free conversations, everything natural, no need to change. We're all the same on a happy day. So overjoyed, each girl and boy. No mass destruction, no power struggle, no busted bubble, no ether either. Just equal air to breathe, no need for layers. It's a happy day, go ahead and enjoy it.
See my loved ones in the sky being projected overhead. What I've learned has come full circle and back around again. I got out of the bear trap, clawing my legs. I got away from the root of all evil and change. This disorder isn't something in my head, it's as real as the sun is red. Dead heart came to the life when I departed from darkness and started a new life. Now I keep my guard up, steady and sharp like a new knife, polished and ready to stab at the wound firsthand. First job as a man is to kill your past. Bag it up, enough with the choking, get it down or spit it back up. Cram it back down, give it 2 whacks, 1 for good measure. I'm on a distant planet, bigger, better than ever, but never forgot where the roots grew from soil. The wars that were fought on the dirt over manure. When you come from the gutter, there's nowhere to go other than straight through the cover into the sewer. The creator is the masquerade, the show of hopes and fears. When you're conquered by the worms crawling out of your ears for years. Tears keeping us vulnerable through thoughts of dismay. Being haunted by guilt-ridden, rotten decay. But the chain breaks here, the pattern is broken now, like a human's emotional depth when he's mentally broken down. Yeah, my story is a dark one, autobiographic, automatically graphic enough to make my bio tragic. Ponder the masterpieces, watch as the sun goes up then down. Not just a scatterbrained mastermind trapped in a disastrous town with nobody who shares a single thought around. Only ones who knew me are scattered with the ashes. Keep the souls in my pocket next to the shattered glass. Never cuts my hand, it makes 1 poke then I heal. Feel nothing other than the breeze and an ache in my Achilles heel. I reveal I'm now as numb as you, I'm now as strong as you. I know I'm stronger, you've just been here longer. Guess we're all a goner, Donner's frowns and water dripping through the cracked walls, knocking the power out. Saw the light and still a coward. But me, I see the darkness that pours out of people's faces. They don't have a single hero in this world, they're on an equal basis. I try to bring light to the dark and show you that wounds can heal. Scars lighten over time, almost enough to see what's unrevealed. Sealed away since adolescence, adolescent to the pot you stir. Just put on a phony face, that's all it takes to become popular. Hey, if the story of my youth ends here and I can wipe clean my slate, scrape my plate at the waist and recook the entire meal before it gets too late, I would. I know now that I would go back and change one thing for a fact. That night when I seriously thought it was over, done with, washed away as I tossed away my chance to be a player in this game. Pain seeping through the skin like garlic dressing. Harlots dressed as life, there to teach me lessons. I would not go back and save my life, but I would save yours, for richer or for poor. Picturing a war inside my head with words on every shore. Each signifies a different chapter after all is said and done. The story of my youth ends here with the reddening sun. Then it burns away like embers, I watch you go away. Finally learn to say goodbye, we all will have our dying day. This is it, the story ends. Hear the sound of 1,000 beating hearts slowly settle in. Kids can finally be kids again without seeing the decline. Watching it decay, then replaying the scenes 20 years later on the day where a generation of zombies who got up and walked from graves. I always thought if I died before I woke, I'd somehow feel awake. But I finally found myself on the shelf next to possibilities. We all grew up in the wasteland, don't let anybody deny your abilities. The resilience from change and playing the master's game. You realize the only master was channeling through your brain, leaking onto paper to draw your own conclusions. The experiment with emotions enough to create illusions. So I did a disappearing act. They tried to state the facts, well I'm in a state of detachment, trying to stay relaxed. Recapture the magic, go back into the hat. You're not the rabbit anymore, you're chasing the rat. Seeing through its red eyes, dead eyes locked on the prize they give. It's simply to live, no need to forgive, just to forget. If this is goodbye, and I have to let you all die, I know I did a good job of keeping you alive. Go back to the drawing board, draw a full circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. As kids, we jump hurdles. Speaking of circles, as kids we jump hurdles. Speaking of circles, seeds in the soil, one day you will grow up strong along the wayside. They paint pictures of a world gone wrong to teach the youth about the journey, how to travel down the route, the habits they'll acquire, and what it's like to figure out how to be a human. Kill off every parasite, never get infected infected with the sickness that they shed in life, cause they want you to be better, but they don't know where to start, cause we all grew up in the wasteland where they refused to share their hearts. We learned it from day one, when we were thrown into the web of lies, the first time we loved and the first time we said goodbye. Learning about the world, hands-on training how to seethe. How can we proceed in a land where power feasts on the weak like we're the prey? Shifts us into predators, hunting for the cattle